Hello and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky verse. Welcome back, Geek Freaks. I am TC, joined today by JJ.
By the power of Grayskull.
Hey, you can't take that.
Too late. You told me to loosen up and try something. I did.
That was good, but you can't steal
Your
my
own
stuff.
fault.
And Toy Story.
To infinity and beyond.
There you go. He's not liking it. He's workshopping that. But all right, guys, we have a really cool episode for you today. We have Vincent Zurzolo of Metropolis Collectibles, big interview. We're really excited. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. I mean, the guy is kind of an encyclopedia of comic book, history and knowledge. We finish off our episode today with kind of a recap of our Remedy tour that we did with Kyle's Comics 01 on Instagram. A lot of you probably know who he is. He's Kyle from Kyle's Comics. And we just kind of recapped all that craziness that went down. It was a lot of fun, but exhausting at the same time. But first, we're going to kick it off with something a little bit different. Not exactly the geek beat, but a friend of ours, Steve Minor Keys. We've kind of teamed up with him to do something called Instagram Free Comic Week. And, we're going to hook up with him now. So that's the next thing you're going to hear, guys. All right, guys. Today's something a little different. Instead of the geek beat, we have our good friend, new friend, Steve from Minor Key Comics, talking about a new exciting thing that us and a couple other, new people in the industry, or not new people, but, up-and-comers in the industry are getting involved with, a Instagram free comic book week. And, Steve, we thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me on, man. I've been listening to your show now ever since you guys started linking up with Atcon and Ali, and he got me hooked on the show, and I've been listening to it since, and I'm honored to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man,
awesome.
Of course.
Thank you.
I love this little Instagram community that we're all forming,
That's my favorite part. That's absolutely in love with that, and I think that's the whole reason that IG Free Comic Day, Free Comic Week even sprouted. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, we've become friends with people, in the middle of the country, in all different states, across the country. It's been pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, literally across the country. A lot of those people that I would never had any contact with before, and it's unfortunate that all their sales happen at like 9 p.m. for me over here. But that's why I'm excited somebody from the East Coast finally does live sales.
I know. It was even with that,
we were
up till 2 a.m. So
yeah, we'd stay up until the end, of course. Yeah. Always on the West Coast.
So why don't you tell folks about what Free Comic Week's about and how they can get involved?
So it came about when I realized that we were missing Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
And I believe it was May 3rd, or it's always like right around Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it hit me because I saw somebody post about it, and I'm like, man, that's unfortunate. And it's not that I really go out for the freebies, but all the stores always have these sales that go around with it, do 50% offs and everything. And that was just a day that was good for the community. It brought people to the stores. And, we all know in this industry that the health of the LCS, the local comic store, is the health of the entire community. And as long as we can keep local comic book stores busy and happy and profitable, then we always have a safe place to go and a place to hang out, a place to meet people, like-minded people, and just a place to hang. And it was really sad when it hit me. You know what I mean? That the quarantine, of course, hits you on certain levels and hits you in waves. And this one hit me pretty hard. So I was talking to Bill from Bucky's Books, and a friend of you guys and a friend of the community. And I said, hey, why don't we do an Instagram version? And we just started brainstorming, and we said, well, wait a minute. We've built this network of really awesome, trusted Instagram people, and let's all get together and give back to the community. And that's what it did. I contacted you. I contacted 3 or 4 other people on the East Coast, 3 or 4 people on the West Coast, and said, hey, let's just give comic books away. Let's have an Instagram comic book week. And that's what we're doing. And I'm really glad you guys are on board. You guys were really excited about it. And almost everybody everybody I've contacted has been just like overwhelmingly excited about doing this. And you can feel that there's a thank you for the community that we feel like we need to do. And this is it. And bring us all together. And I'm really excited about it. And we're launching June 1st. And it's June 1st through June 7th. And it's a week long because we want to give everybody the chance to jump on there, see what it's about, follow that page. And that page will be, and it's not live yet, but that page will be at IG Free Comic Week. So that's the page you want to follow. And we're going to have to limit to about 300 or 400 people, which might go quickly. But we're going to have videos up there from all the contributors and saying thank you. And that's it. You just log in, you follow the rest of the group, and you get a free comic book in the mail. That's it.
It sounds like the dogs want the comics already.
It's funny. Ali, the same thing happens to Ali sometimes. Baloo goes nuts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's fine.
All right, no worries.
No, but it really is amazing how the communities kind of come together during all this, to support all these dealers who are having a hard time.
Yeah, it's been incredible. The community is really kind of bonded together, and not just people from the Remedy sales that we've met, but people you make friends with other buyers. It's just it's a huge thing. You have 150 to 200 people at a time in these things, and it's I think it's a nice thing to do to kind of show people who are supporting all these people who essentially aren't open right now, and they're kind of like, this is really a godsend for a lot of shops that they're able to do this. And I think it's really nice that everyone's gonna go out there and show that a little bit of a thank you to all those people who have supported everyone during this time.
And I've also heard a lot of the dealers that are doing these internet sales and IG sales are they're really like having a good time with it, and they're keeping the roof over their head. And
dude, they're fun.
That's it, and it's fun. And it's funny, when I first did the Remedy Tour one, I had more people reach out to people that didn't buy a thing from me. Yeah. People reach out to me and said, "Yo, dude, yours was great. Thanks for the entertainment for 3 hours."
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Even if I go on and don't buy anything, it's just fun to watch. And you feel like you're even though you're not with anybody, when we were at Kyle's and helping him out, like, we felt like everybody was there with us, I think, right?
Right.
Which is that whole movement now. It's like alone together,
Yeah.
We're alone, but we don't have to be alone.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. You can't even, it's an energy. You can't even describe it. It's just like, it's exhilarating. Like I think we were definitely coursing with like adrenaline the whole time.
8 hours went by like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And apparently people could hear me. Oh, I'm sorry, JJ. Go ahead.
No, and the problem I was having, holding the camera, trying to film this stuff, and then trying to read everybody's comments at the same time. And it was so overwhelming, but it was cool to get to interact with that
and to be like the center of that, right?
Yeah. Even though it wasn't my show, it wasn't my shop or anything else. It was cool.
Yeah, that's the best part about it, though. Like you said, is the interaction. Like as you do, like you guys are going to do another one here pretty soon, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think by the time this releases, we would have done the one at Best Comics.
Well, the second one is much easier. I'll tell you right now. I've had the opportunity to do two now, and the second one was much, much easier.
That's awesome.
People were telling me they could hear me breathing, which is very attractive. I've tried to learn how to pace myself and keep my mouth away from the microphone while I'm selling things. But like you said, the adrenaline's pumping, and I wasn't really walking around too far, but I was like out of breath just because, well, A, I'm a big guy, and B, it was just like you said, the adrenaline was going, and we were just having so much fun. And next thing you know, it's 3 hours has gone by. So I don't know how Ali does it. He sits there for 9-10 hours and doesn't even use the restroom. So.
Yeah,
I know, right?
The same thing. He says he takes those 5-second breaks. He uses them very wisely.
In between the streams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the same thing. You're not going very far. I think we were in between two rooms, and we had a 5-person team to do that, and it still was like exhausting. We all we had our
every single one of us was busy doing something.
Best to stay safe most of the time, but it was crazy. Yeah, there was a job for everyone the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If it was running the books to the table, logging them, tagging who bought it, describing what it was. We had one of our other friends there, Alan, who's he's like an expert grader pretty much, something that needed double checked, we threw it to him and it's like, yep, this is the grade. And he came back and it was like nonstop. Like I felt like I was in like a fight for like, 15 rounds kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's really exhausting. And as soon as you like get done with it, and then you realize you have to pack all these things up and send them like, oh, but then as soon as you're done with that, you're like, cool, when's the next one?
I know. I can only imagine.
I mean, so
well, thankfully we weren't part of the packing team on this one.
Yeah, we weaseled our way out of that one.
How about this next one there, the one that you got coming up that you're gonna be doing?
Well, no, that one's at our shop. They have a good team. We're kind of we're doing it as a host because they just started getting onto the Instagram side. It's like, listen, we'll host it. We have a decent following. We'll bring people in, and then we're just going to try and channel everyone. So if you're not already doing it, everyone at home, at Best Comics NY, make sure you're following them because they're going to be doing more stuff on their own going forward as well.
Just added them today, so
yeah. Awesome. Oh, awesome! Thank you. Yeah, they're a good shop. We've spoke about what happened to our owner and friend recently, which has really been a bummer. But I think they're going to make it work. They have a lot of good plans, and everyone's kind of coming together. So we're pumped.
That's what this is all about: coming together and supporting each other, man.
Yep.
And that's literally what has really turned me around with this comic book industry, because doing just the conventions and sitting in that booth and sitting there for 3 days and your feet hurt because you're on that concrete.
Yeah.
And you're sad because you did all this work and you packed all these boxes up and you barely made enough to cover the booth. And then now we're doing this stuff and we're meeting so much more people. We're doing better in sales. And
you don't even have to leave your house.
Exactly. I don't even have to wear pants. Yeah. Really, because it's from here up. I don't have to wear pants. It's perfect.
And that's the thing too. These are just focused on you, which is great. Like, you don't have to compete with, 20 other vendors in the same room. And, you have people going booth to booth to booth saying, all right, like I see what this guy has it for. Let me check what the other 10 people have it for to see who has the cheapest price. Then I'll come back. I mean, it is what it is. Competition is good. But at the same point, you have maybe 100 people doing the same thing. And, the focus of like everything being on your stuff is awesome. Nothing can beat that.
Well, yeah, and it's just the opposite of competition, really, on Instagram, if you think about it. Because you guys will have a sale, on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I'll be on there and I'll grab a couple of things on your sale. And then you'll promote the fact that I'm having a sale on Tuesday, and all those viewers from your sale come over to my sale.
Exactly. And something like that would never happen at a show.
Never. Yeah. And this is definitely the age of Instagram live sales, and I hope it lasts forever, because I don't see a loser in the whole thing.
No. And
except maybe until Instagram realizes they're not making money.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Or the comic conventions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The people who have been really successful in this market the whole time, even before that, a lot of comic shops and dealers are always the ones that, embraced collaboration. The shops we know who work well with other people are like, hey, if you can't get something here, I have a good friend, he might have it. Why don't you reach out to him? Because when you do that, it's like, oh, this guy looked out for me. I'm going to look out for him. When people, do this backstabbing and, distrust, it doesn't help anybody. Mm-hmm. The more you work together, the better it is for everyone. That's the way I've always looked at it. I mean, I know that not everybody feels that way, but I think, what's good for one is good for all, kind of thing.
It's funny that you brought that up, because I'll be watching a live sale. Either it'll be my sale or I'll be watching one of our friends' sales. And I know that people are asking about the certain book, or they had one and like 6 people claimed it. And somebody that we all have seen before and have spent money with all of us really wanted this book. And the next time I see it for sale on any other random Instagram, I'm tagging that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, instead of me going out to run out and grab it really quick and try to, raise the price and sell it to this guy who I know is a ready cash buyer, I see it available on some other page that's not involved, and I just tag them.
Yeah.
And there you go. You can facilitate a sale and make sure that the book gets to the right home.
And that person remembers that too. They're like, hey, this guy looked out for me. He didn't try to, like undercut me and take that and then like sell it to me for an inflated price later.
Yeah. Like I said, this IG Free Comic Week, I hope people realize that it's a thank you, and us telling everybody, hey, we know you missed this in the stores. We're going to try to emulate what the stores have, and then us all coming together as one big trusted seller community. And And it's important because you never know what you're getting. I mean, you're just randomly buying a $500-600 book from somebody you see on Instagram, and then they ask you to pay, PayPal friends and family.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, I'm sending a random stranger $400 and then crossing my fingers and hope that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But that's the best part about all of us coming together is that if somebody did buy something for me and I didn't, deliver it, it can reach out to any of you guys and be like, hey, I know Minor Keys is your friend. Can you help me try to figure out what's going on here? And now you can feel safe because you know that you're buying it from Minor Keys or you're buying it from LA Comic Guys, but you can also reach out to 6 or 7 other people.
It's kind of a trusted community now. Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to build here. And I think that's a secondary focus of IG Free Comic Week.
100%.
I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, and I want to do this multiple times. I mean, I hope that you guys are down for it. I
Absolutely.
know Free Comic Day is twice a year, but there's no reason why we can't put together once a month something like this. Just where we all give away a $100 slab or something once a month, just to say thank you, and it'll grow from here. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential, and I think a lot of different things can happen. And, with so many people, there's so many different ideas that, we can share with each other and kind of like pick the best ones.
Absolutely. That's what I'm looking forward to the most is picking each other's brains and sharing the experience and the knowledge with each other and just producing something for the community that we can be proud of.
Awesome. So one more thing before we let you go, you're also getting involved in AtCon 2 as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's funny that Elite Comics or Ali, they had their first AtCon like a month before all this went down.
I know.
So that was really coincidental that they got the practice one in because I really think the second version of it is going to be something special.
Yeah.
I'll be a vendor. I'll be there. I'll have my time slot. There's going to be some crazy guests that haven't been announced yet. And I'm sure you guys probably know a little bit about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
So that's very ambitious, but it sounds like it's happening. And if that takes off, some of these smaller conventions around the country might have to worry because even when we do get back into going, people might like this format.
Yeah,
they already like this format.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, and then can you imagine that if it gets big enough, something like AtCon gets big enough to where Marvel or DC or Netflix are actually doing like movie like trailer releases on these things?
That'd be amazing. I mean, that's kind of the dream or the ambition of it, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see how that's not a direction that is going in the next couple of years. So signings,
exciting.
They're doing signings. They're already going to do CGC witness signings from Neil Adams at AtCon 2, you know what I mean, where you can send books in and he'll sign them right there and get it labeled. And I mean, there's talk of even doing video clips of him actually signing the books that you're seeing,
that's cool.
Which is cool because some people haven't seen that happen. Some people haven't seen that process of it where they get handed a book and you get to watch an artist, comment on it. When I handed Neil Adams my Adventure of the Fly #4, which you may or may not know is his first professional work when he was 17 years old, I handed him like my 12 copies of it when I saw him. he looked at me and goes, "Oh, so you're the one guy that bought all these books." And, of course, he's got a story to tell, and it's awesome just to sit there in front of it. But not everybody's going to have to get to know what Adventures of the Fly #4 is and listen to that story. But if you do like a half an hour signing session live, you're going to hear all the stories from all the books that he's signing. Which, if we can make that happen, if Ali can make that happen on AtCon 2, that would be something special.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely trending that way, and we're excited to see where it goes. I mean, we're going to be a part of it too. We're still discussing in which way, but we're excited to be part of it and to be part of this new community that's kind of like really built itself, up from the ground, from nothing. And, we're here now, which is, Ali's got about over 12,000, we're all trending upwards as well. I feel like the sky's the limit a little bit for all of us. And we can't wait to see what's up there.
It's nice to see something good come out of this whole situation for the last few months.
100%.
Agreed.
Thanks for having me on, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
We appreciate you coming on today, Steve, and telling us about what's going on and what people can expect. you guys out there get ready. What's the tag again for when? I'm sure it's going to be announced a bunch of times. But
Sure. The page is at IG Free Comic Week, and we'll be using the hashtag IG Free Comic Week. And my page is at Minor Keys Comics.
All right, you guys heard it here. Be sure to keep your eyes and ears out for more news.
Good to see you, gentlemen.
You too, man.
Thank
you.
All right, thanks.
All right, everyone. We are very excited to introduce our guest today, someone whose incredible booth we pass by and gawk at every year in New York Comic Con. Please welcome Chief Operating Officer, co-founder, and owner of both Metropolis Collectibles and Comic Connect, Vincent Zurzolo.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Thank you so much for joining us.
Don't forget about Metropolis Gallery.
Metropolis Gallery.
That's right.
We'd love to hear
about Had some amazing shows.
Well, Vincent, we hope that you and your family are staying healthy and safe during these crazy times. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Everything's going all right here. Washing my hands all the time. Using the sanitizer. Got my N95 mask on.
Good.
Gloves.
Nice.
Staying safe. I hope you guys are well as well.
Yeah, we are. You're still at the office, though, it looks like.
I am. I had to do this interview with you guys. This would be the best place to do it.
Yeah, we're going to share some of this video, I think, guys, because there's some amazing art we're seeing right now. So we'll share that with you.
Oh,
yeah, it might be a little distracting, but
so I'll just show you real quick. This is my favorite piece of my collection. It's
my gosh.
I recognize that.
Beast, Gil
That's
Kane,
awesome.
Bill Everett. It's the only piece of art, or one of the only things I've ever bought in my life, where the entire week it was up on eBay. My heart was pounding every time I thought about it. And the crazy thing about it was, with about 10 seconds left in the auction, my computer freezes up, and thankfully my business partner Steven was on his computer, and I said, Steve, my computer froze. He's like, you want me to put a bid? I'm like, yes, put in a bid. And sure enough, he got in like the last second, and I got it. So it's really thrilling.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It's fun.
Those are the most heart-racing moments we have. Those last few seconds on eBay. All
There's
right.
a picture I found of, I was just recently sending me and Stan Lee when he was alive, about
nice.
5 years ago at a New York Comic Con. Sorry,
awesome.
Big Apple Comic Con.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him a lot?
Yeah, the first time I met Stan Lee, I was at a San Diego Comic Con. They used to have these organized dinners to celebrate different types of different parts of the history of comic books. And the year was for the artists of EC Comics, and they had a cocktail hour. And I didn't really know many people. This was early on in my adventures outside of New York City for comic books. And I was standing there with a glass of champagne. Out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody walking towards me, and I turn, and the guy reaches out his hand and says, "Hi, I'm Stan Lee." And I was like, oh my God, that's Stan Lee. And why is he coming over to talk to me? And he was so nice. I got to interview him twice to promote Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 when I used to have a radio show called ComicZoneRadio.com, which is still archived and free. If anybody wants to listen to interviews with Stan Lee, Todd McFarlane, Frank Miller,
I've actually listened to a few of them.
guys.
They're really good.
Oh, thanks.
It was something we were going to bring up.
To it. Okay, cool. I'm rolling, guys.
There you go.
Go for it.
All right, well, Toy Story.
Here's the Cosmic Cube from Captain America: The First Avenger.
That's awesome. Very cool.
This is incredible. This is incredible.
It's like
You did some officer.
Yeah, and here's I also like old Spider-Man toys that I never could get when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently bought one of this thing. It's like so weird. It's just like a little Spider-Man little zips buggy. Yeah. So I like all types of stuff. Doesn't have to just be big high ticket items. But here's one of my favorite covers in my collection. It's McFarlane Spider-Man 323.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes that cover really special to me, it's not just, hey, I own a great piece of art. It's how it connected to me in my life. When I first started out full time, when I was out of college, I had my own home office, And after I'd spend a day buying and selling comic books, I had to ship them out. So I did everything: shipping department, bookkeeping, buying, selling, you name it. So I would have a small stack of McFarlane Spider-Man sitting on a shelf nearby where I was packing up packages. And that was one of the comic books I'd always look at while I was working. And, you know,
That's great.
30 years later, I actually own the cover. It's pretty cool. 20 some odd years later.
That's gotta be such a good feeling.
That's 89. It came out the year I graduated high school. Shit. Yeah. Here's the first piece of real vintage art that I ever bought. It's a Steve Ditko Spider-Man 9.
Wow.
It's the first page with Electro.
Oof,
You can see that with Electro on it.
that's amazing.
And the thing I love about this page, it's not an action page, but just the way Ditko would use the lighting here. I don't know if you can see on this panel, the first panel. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then over here on the middle panel,
Those
the way the
shadows.
light's coming in, and the way the blinds are shown here. I just think that's really impressive. He took a lot of care in his own unique way to show detail.
He was a great storyteller with his art. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was like to say
Yeah.
you could read his panels without any scripts if you really needed to, without any words.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm gonna walk you guys into the stock room. I'm sorry if I'm just going off on tangents here. Just so you guys get a
That's
kick
all
out of
right.
this. So this is just a part of the Metropolis inventory and stock room here, and it's
Wow.
Oh my God.
floor to ceiling, tons and tons of comic books.
Jeez.
And you go into any box and here's an Avengers #1. Here's another Avengers #1.
Oh, God.
Here's another Avengers #1. Right? Here's another Avengers #1.
Jeez.
These things are rare though, folks. So. There's another Avengers #1.
I think this is just an Avengers
There's
1 box,
another-
guys.
Shit.
Do you ever get sick of seeing the same book?
2, 4, 6, 8 of an Avengers #1. No, never. Avengers. Then there's a whole bunch of 4s here. I don't know if you can see that. Am I holding it right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, we can see
Yeah.
it.
And then, you got here like a Champions #1 and 9/8 and 9/4, another 9/8, 9. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun stuff and keeps us really busy.
Sure, even now, right?
And,
Yeah,
What's that?
Pretty much everything, right?
a little bit of everything. Yeah, it makes me really happy to have lots of comic books around me.
I think
You and me
we
both.
all say that.
Yeah, right on.
All right, so going back a little bit, we like to start all our
Yeah.
interviews by getting our guests' comic book origin story. So basically, back before you started buying and selling, when you were a kid, what got you into comics? What really piqued your interest?
So low battery.
Oh no!
Can you guys see me? I'm going to go back to my office and plug in. I thought I had enough juice in this thing. All right, it'll be good for me to sit down and race around on 50 different things while we're...
I think you made us drool enough for now.
Yeah.
So here's what I can tell you. I've loved comic books since before I could even read. And I had 2 big brothers. My brother Sal, who runs Garden State Comic Fest. And my brother Jerry, who is an art teacher. They're 10 and 11 years older than me. And my brothers introduced me to comic books. And I often will jokingly say that if it wasn't for them, who knows, maybe I wouldn't be in this business. But as a little boy, I just was blown away by the colors and the costumes. And I remember reading, I have distinct memories of reading Astonishing Tales with Deathlock in it. And I couldn't read everything perfectly, but I knew he was talking to somebody. He was talking to something called the pewter. I was like, what does pewter mean? It's short for computer. And I was like, a little kid, and I was trying to read this stuff, and it was so much fun. But I could follow the pictures, and these guys were such incredible storytellers through their artwork that it was pretty easy for me to tell what was going on. So I collected whenever I could get any spare change, quarter, nickels, dimes, put it all together and go to the local candy store. I grew up in a place in Queens called Rockaway Beach, and I would go to Beach 129th Street to a place called Allen's, which was a candy store, and then there was a little luncheonette where they'd serve egg creams and all types of stuff, and there was a spinner rack in there, and this like little old Chinese couple owned the place, and I'd go in there and look through the spinner rack and try to find a comic book for me to read. I remember loving Marvel team-ups, 2-in-1s, Conan. I was really more into Marvel. So I really love the Marvel characters, but every once in a while, Batman, Superman, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I even remember my cousin had a lot of Sergeant Rocks and Our Army at Wars. So I remember I would look at those as well. Those were really cool. And so, I was in elementary school and was collecting with my friends. We'd go on field trips. I remember we'd bring comic books and we'd trade comic books. Then as I got older, I was around 15, 16 years old, I started buying and selling comics with a friend who lived across the street. And we put an ad in the old Comic Buyer's Guide, a quarter-page ad called VM. Our company was called VM Comics for our initials. And we would travel all over New York and buy stuff. And everybody in school knew this is what I was doing. So if they knew I had a relative who had a collection, they'd call me up and I'd go buy their collection. Bought and sold comic books all through high school. Wow. And when I went to St. John's University, I was buying and selling, doing comic book conventions, Great Eastern conventions in the city. I was doing shows all over Long Island, including Ken Diamond's Rockville Center show, which is a really good show back in the 80s. So then I was doing an internship, like my last semester at St. John's for Gannett Outdoor Advertising. And they had me in the marketing department. Marketing was my major. I was a business major, and I hated it. I had very little skill on computers, and they had me working on computers all day. And I remember what I ended up doing is I would go into the art department, and I would hang out with the art guys, and lo and behold, they were all comic book fans.
Of course.
So this was my way to supplement my income. I'd bring comic books in every week. I was working for my buddy Tommy at Best Comics in Long Island, and at that time it was in Little Neck, yep, in Queens. And so I'd get subscription books, for these art guys and Gannett, and I'd make some extra pocket change, for pocket money for bringing that stuff. But I hated doing what I was doing. But I did it. And when I graduated.
That's our local comic shop, by the way.
Best Comics? Well,
yeah.
Tommy's the best.
Yeah.
Tommy Best. Yeah. You got to tell him you did an interview and I plugged his store.
We will.
He'll appreciate it. He's a great guy.
He is.
So what happened? I graduated from St. John's and I'm sitting in on my bed at home, pondering the universe. What am I going to do with myself? And I had two choices. I could go and get a job in the city, working for a marketing firm, probably make peanuts coming out of college, and have an hour and 15-minute commute to the city and an hour and 15-minute commute back to Rockaway.
Know what that's like.
Or choice number two, I could probably work in my boxers all day from home, on my bed, making phone calls, buying and selling comics, and probably make double. It wasn't a hard choice for me. I chose the comics route. And what I can tell you is that first year out of college, I was at a comic book convention. I think it was off of Ralph Avenue in Brooklyn, like 10 minutes away from King's Plaza, yep, on Flatbush Avenue. And I ran into this guy. Somebody told this guy that I lived in Rockaway, and he was like, "Hey, man, I live in Rockaway too. Could you give me a ride back?" So sure, no problem. So I didn't know there were any other comic dealers in Rockaway, and this guy happened to buy and sell comics. And his name is Kurt Bowlers. He's still around today. He's a great guy. And he said to me, "Hey, you should come out with me to Manhattan. I sell comics in the streets in the city, and you can make some money." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." So a couple of days later, I put some boxes together and we drove into the city together, and I'll never forget. We worked from like 10 to 3. and I made about $50. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, what'd you do? You brought me into the city. I made $50. The tolls, gas, and parking. I'm making nothing. And he goes, listen, Vin, trust me. They just got to get to know you and see what you bring, and tomorrow will be better. So we went to the next day, and I ended up making $60 that day. And I was like, Kurt, you're killing me here, man. What are you doing? I'm making nothing here. So he said, trust me. You got to have some patience. Come with me one more time. Third day, I did $200. I'm like, all right, I like this.
Wow.
So I'm working from 10 to 3 in the summer in the financial district. I was set up on Broadway between John and Maiden Lane. And I had a lot of fun, and I would buy and sell comic books on the streets of Manhattan. The guys would come out of the financial district from Wall Street, and they would come by and they'd spend some money. Bulletproof Comics, my buddy's store, Bulletproof Comics was around the corner for me there, and I'd go and stop by and say hello. And there was always a good restaurant to go to and grab some Chinese food or some sushi. And that's how I spent my summer. And after I'd get home, it was still early enough in the summertime that I could go to the beach and play volleyball with my buddies. So I have a really great day. On the weekends, I would buy and sell warehouses of comic books. Back then, they were packaging comic books for like 3 for $1, those type of deals.
Yeah.
So I'd find a warehouse of 100,000 books, make a penny a book on them, $1,000 for a couple hours in the weekend, and they'd flip warehouse to warehouse as a middleman, and I supplemented my income doing that, as well as comic book conventions. I'd say over the course of the first year out of college, I probably moved bulk warehouses, probably close to 1 million comic books.
Wow.
And yeah, and then all the comic book conventions and this, that, and the other thing. What I did from the get-go is I set out a goal. My goal was to hit a certain amount of profits in the first year, and I hit that, which was really thrilling for me. Mm-hmm. My second goal and major goal was, I said, okay, if I'm going to do this full time, I have to set out some goals. What am I out to accomplish? And my goal from the get-go, after St. John's, was I wanted to be the biggest comic book dealer in the world. And I had no idea how I was going to do that, but that was my goal. I was brought up by 2 immigrant parents from Italy, and thank God they gave me some very valuable lessons. One of them was you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and the other was knowledge is power. And I took those 2 things to heart. And I also learned that it was very good if you had goals to write them down, that things would materialize better if you wrote them down. They become real to you. So I sat down, and I wrote down, I want to be the biggest comic book dealer in the world. And then I started trying to figure out how the hell I was going to do this. I started working my tail off, buying, selling, doing whatever I could to build my reputation. I called up the Overstreet Price Guide, talked to Bob Overstreet. Hey, Bob, could I become an Overstreet Price Guide advisor? He said, sure, just, send me out some sales and write up, a market report. And I was like, wow, thanks. It was just thrilling to even talk to Bob Overstreet. And lo and behold, he was such a nice guy. And there were a lot of guys early on in my career who I would say were very helpful, encouraging, and mentors in one way or another. And so one of the best ways I found to build my business at that point, other than working my tail off, was to try to do things that to fill in needs or wants in the hobby. And one of the things I saw that was very much lacking, I couldn't beat my competitors in experience because they had way more experience than I did. I couldn't beat them money-wise. They had tons more money. They had tons more network than I did, and they knew everybody. So I said, where can I beat these guys? And I think I kept hearing over and over again was that customer service in general back then was not great. So that's what I did. I watched my father, who was a chef and restaurateur, and my mom, who was a fantastic host at our home. I watched the things that they did, and I emulated them as another set of role models to create the business environment that I wanted. And even to this day, I'm extremely hands-on with customers, and I try to make people understand that whether they're spending $50,000 with me, $50,000 or $2 million, $3 million, I care about the business. I was taught very early on that the guys who are spending $50 today will be the guys who are spending 50 grand tomorrow. And you can't judge a book by its cover, and you got to treat everybody equally and fairly. And so that's what I tried to do. Now, am I always successful at this? No, nobody's perfect, but I do the best I possibly can, and I try to make sure that people know I actually give a shit and I care about their business.
Right.
Now, that's not to say if somebody treats me very unfairly that I'm going to turn the other cheek all the time. There's a point where I think everybody says, hey, enough's enough.
Yeah.
But in general, we try to have good, healthy, positive relationships with people. And that's the beginning of my origin. Go ahead. Ask another question. I'll go on for 20 minutes.
So what would you say are like some of the mistakes you made early on that really helped you learn in the business?
Never ask Brad Savage to watch your comic books when you're at a convention. I made the mistake of asking him to watch my comic books at a convention, and I came back upstairs and all 4 boxes were gone.
Oh boy.
Missing. Completely gone. I'm friendly with Brad now, but it's still, that's one mistake I wish I never made, was asking that man to watch my comic books. He had his back to the books when I went upstairs after unloading, and my 4 best boxes were gone. But it was actually a valuable lesson looking back on it. As a friend of mine, his dad said every dark cloud has a silver lining. And the silver lining from that loss was it taught me that even though I lost my best inventory and had no insurance, that I could recover from that. And it took me a little bit of time. I remember for about a month, I woke up every morning just completely depressed. And then one morning I woke up and realized, I said, you know what, if I continue to act like this, then these guys really stole something from me.
Yeah.
So that day, I vouched that day to, as hard as I had been working, I was now going to work 10 times harder, 10 times faster, 10 times smarter. And within 3 months, I was back at break even. I had taken a lot of comic books on consignment. I paid off the consigners. And even there were collections I had purchased the night before that convention that I hadn't even mailed a check out, but I paid everybody back everything I needed to do and kept moving forward. And I think that a lot of my peers and the guys who were way higher up the ladder than I was saw how I handled this type of adversity. And I think in some way, shape, or form, I probably earned their respect a little bit more. I don't want to speak for them, but that was a feeling I got.
Absolutely.
And then other regrets, not so much in comic books, but I wish I had bought a lot more real estate when I was younger. I wish I had understood how mortgages worked when I was a lot younger. I probably wouldn't have to sell comic books right now. But I do love what I do, and I will say this, that while I would be full of shit if I said that I didn't care about the money I make, I do care about money. But with comic books, the great thing about it is I was just as happy when I was, starting out, when I was making a lot less. It's been a thrill the entire time. It's very exciting to buy a new collection, to put a smile on someone's face when you sell them a comic book or buy from them. So there's been a lot of different experiences for me on both sides of the fence. Some of the best experiences I had running the first Big Apple convention, which was called The Show Must Go On, was one of the most exciting experiences of my career in 1996. And the reason it was so exciting for me was because here was something that I was doing, even though I was hopefully going to make some money, which I ended up actually losing money as the promoter of that Show Must Go On show. I made money at my booth, but we created an alternate venue. Do you guys know the story about how Great Eastern Conventions crashed and burned back in 1996?
No.
All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the origins of the Show Must Go On and Big Apple conventions. So what ended up happening was Fred Greenberg was running a show at the Time Warner Center, which was back then called the New York Coliseum. Fred thought he was pretty slick and was going to run the show without getting the floor plan approved by the fire marshal. He was wrong. The day of the show, we were all lined up down the block ready to load in. And Fred was walking to everybody's car telling them that the show had been canceled because the fire marshal did not approve the fire plan, and he couldn't run the show, and the New York Coliseum would not allow him to have it. this is a very serious thing. You have to have a fire plan set up because, God forbid, there's a fire. People need to have an escape route. And he didn't have any of that stuff done. So me, Vince Gula, and Mike Carbonaro, we were all dealers. All our names ended in a vowel. We ran around. We went to the Javits Center and with Fred Greenberg, trying to get an alternate venue. And after the Javits Center wasn't going to come together, when that happened, Fred just said that he threw up his hands, and we said, "Hey, listen, Fred, are you okay with us doing something on our own?" He said, "Sure, just don't collect the mailing list. I wouldn't think that's fair." I said, "Okay, we won't." We didn't. But what we did is we had free admission, and within 48 hours, we put together a show in 1996 when there was barely any internet. We had people, it was snowing, by the way, the day we had the show. We found a venue at the St. Paul the Apostle Church Auditorium on 59th and 9th. They had a 10,000 square foot basement, and it was a fantastic venue. But it was snowing the day of, and we had people with signs over at the New York Coliseum because people were still going to the New York Coliseum. And they were basically just guiding them, walking them over to the church. So we had, great. When the doors opened, we had thousands of people pouring into the room. And I'll never forget, I had this incredible feeling of elation of being able to actually have done this, a mission impossible, putting a comic book convention together in 48 hours with a very limited staff and limited budget and limited everything. And I don't know if you guys might not know this, but there used to be these Toyota commercials where the people would jump up in the air and be like, "Oh, what a feeling." And I remember doing one of those jumps at the beginning of the show. And it was, that was really exciting. So that's another thing I would tell people in general. Don't run comic conventions. They're a pain in the ass. Although they can also be very lucrative, but I got out of the convention business within 6 months.
Wow.
Other regrets, I don't know, things to avoid. Learn how to spot restoration. Learn your market. Learn the business inside and out, because people will try to take advantage of you, and they will try to rip you off, and you got to be careful.
Did that happen a lot to you early on?
You make mistakes. You don't spot the color touch, or you don't realize the book's trimmed, or you miss the piece replacement on a book. So, things like that happen, but I learned very fast, and I had a lot of friends who would teach me, and I'm pretty good at spotting it now. Yeah. Everybody still misses one, something here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty cool with that. So mostly I have a lot of very fond memories of my career in comic books. It's been a great ride.
Nice. All right, so about 20 years ago, you partnered up with Steve Fischler at Metropolis Collectibles, which is where you are now, right?
Yeah.
So
actually,
I think
it'll be 21 years July 1st of this year.
Very nice.
It'll be 21 years.
So I think it's fair to say you guys have been killing it in the industry. So can you tell us a little bit about how that partnership started?
So Steve and I became partners, and we became friends in the early 90s. I think he had heard about this big collection I got, and I sold most of it out. And I'll never forget, he came to a show and he was like, "Oh, so this is the big collection?" There was like nothing left in it. And I'm like, wah, wah, wah. But we became friends after that. And one day he said, "Hey, would you like to come to the city and have drinks with me?" I said, "Sure." So I went into the city and we sat down, and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about bringing on a partner, and you're the guy I was thinking about, because we both are very serious about our work and have you have a good work ethic, and I think this could be a good partnership." And it took us a while to get everything together, but I think it took us almost about a year to put the contract, and it was a lot of thinking about it and making sure this was a good fit. And we became partners in July 1st, 1999, and have been ever since. In fact, I always laugh about it. Our business marriage has lasted longer than my first marriage and his only marriage put together, which is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was in 1999. And in 2007, we started Comic Connect. And in 2015, we started Metropolis Gallery.
Awesome. You got some really cool stuff in that gallery, let me tell you.
Yeah, JJ, I think you went to one of the first ones, right?
Well, I went to the John Cassidy you did a couple of years ago, which was really because I actually work right down the road from you. I'm on 38th and 8th.
Oh, cool,
cool.
Wow.
That show, I got that I think it was an email I got. And I was like, I'm just going to go there after work. And, I still had my work clothes on, my backpack. And the funniest experience of that was, walking in and I'm talking to this guy and, he started talking about Star Wars and I started talking to him about Star Wars. Like, yeah, I got this. He was standing next to the Star Wars poster that was up on the wall. And I was like, yeah, I just got this one. It was a 300 run limit and everything else. And he's like, well, I did that one. I'm like, no, that's Greg Hildebrand did that. He's like, well, I'm Greg Hildebrand. I'm like, and his wife came over. She's like, yeah, this is my husband, Greg. And I'm like, oh my God, it was the craziest thing.
Yeah, they're fantastic people. Gene and Greg are just so amazing. And Greg, what a talented artist, and Gene, an amazing. She handles all his art. She does everything, and she's an extremely smart and talented person. And Greg is just unbelievable.
We've got to meet him a few times. He's always a pleasure to talk to.
Yeah, they're really nice people. The gallery's been a thrill for me because, one of the things I often tell people is, everybody wants to talk to me now when I go to a party. All the Marvel movies I want to Wolverine and X-Men, which one's your favorite DC movie? What do you think the next one's going to be? Everybody wants to talk about comic books nowadays. When I was in college and I would go to parties and people would ask me, what do you do? When I got out of college, what do you do? I sell comic books. Girls would either walk away or they would go, no, what's your real job? Or can you make a living doing that? And after a while, it puts a chip on your shoulder a little bit. So one of my main goals has always been to try to legitimize our hobby, business, art form, to raise the bar, to show it in a better light than I think it had been for a long time. And I try to do that whenever I'm on TV, doing interviews in a very professional manner. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job at it because they keep calling me back for more interviews. and also, you look at the elevation of comic books as an investment, as an art form. It's taught in colleges. You can get a degree in comic book history and things like that. So I'm not saying I'm the reason that happened, but I'd like to think I'm a small part of the reason that there are certain things that have grown in terms of the perspective changing for comic books. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I think you've done a pretty good job of, making a name in the industry. All you need to say is Vinny from Metropolis, and everyone knows who you're talking about.
That's nice. I appreciate that. I love this business. I love comic books, and I think even if I were to retire, I think I'd still be dabbling, and eventually as I got older and just said, I'm going to slow down a bit, I'd probably still be doing this left and right. It's also kind of second nature for me. Yeah. You put me in a situation where I can buy and sell a comic book, and my brain starts going into overdrive. I love it.
That's
cool.
So you said you started.
And I love reading them too.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Yeah,
So
I got a stack of comics on the side of my bed, and change them out every few months. And I love reading comic books. They're so great.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So you said you started Comic Connect in 2006, right?
2007.
2007. So
June.
what was the online comic book market like at that time? Because it must have been kind of.
Oh, it was really. It was really good. What I would say is that the online comic market was very strong. The reason we started Comic Connect is because we were losing business to eBay, and I kept saying to my partner, it took me 2 years to convince him. I said, listen, we can't compete. I can't say I'm going to buy your collection for 60% when somebody can put it up on eBay and pay eBay, whatever, 10% or something. So we had to start our own auction company, and it was not easy in the beginning. We even with our reputation from Metropolis, it was slow going in the first 6 months. Pretty slow, and then we hit on an Action Comics #1 in 6.0 condition that sold for what was then a record $317,100, and that was in, I think 2008, January of 2008, and so that was a world record, and it really catapulted us. And I would say very, very easily, my companies have sold more Action #1s in the last 10 years than the entire industry put together. I think that's a fair judgment, at least publicly. I could tell. Yeah, we hold multiple world records, Guinness World Records for most expensive comic books ever sold, most expensive Silver Age comic book, the Amazing Fantasy 15 CGC 9.6 for $1.1 million. First $1 million comic book, which was an Action #1 in 8.0, followed up a month later by an Action #1 in 8.5 for $1.5 million. We've sold Action 1s for million, 1.5, 1.75, 2,053,000, 2.2 million, and over 3 million. So insane. We keep very, very busy. Yeah.
Do you guys also hold a record for the most expensive purchase comic?
Yeah, well, we bought the Action 1 for 3.2 million, and we sold it for a profit.
Oh, you did.
Part of my agreement was
you guys still had
part of the agreement with the new owner was that we wouldn't say what it sold for.
That's
but
fair.
I can tell you
Fair enough.
that if guys are going to pony up money like that, and he wants me to keep it to myself, I'm happy to do that.
Go for it.
That's fair.
I think that was on all of our eBay watch lists with no intention of buying it, obviously.
Yeah, I was at a Chicago Wizard show, and that Sunday evening was ending, and my since I was at the show, my partner was bidding on it for us, and when it ended, I was watching it on my phone, and when it ended, I was so thrilled, and it was like a big celebration that night. I went out to dinner with a bunch of friends. It was very, very exciting, very cool.
That's cool.
That is wild.
Does it ever get old getting one and holding it in your hands?
An Action one doesn't get old. No. And almost every collection, even junky collections, are still fun because you'll see something that'll remind you of some other time. And that was one of a great lesson I learned a long time ago. It's not just the comic, it's not just a story inside the comic book, it's a story that connects to your life.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it really special. I'll show you guys something. Let me see if I can. I'm really low on battery here, but let me see if I can just spin out for a second and show you guys something real cool. I forgot that I could spin this camera around. Here we go. So one of my favorite comic books when I was a kid was Marvel 2-in-1 #5.
That's
if
awesome.
you guys can see that.
Yeah.
So I love the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Charlie 27, Yondu. What's this guy's name? That was
Starhawk?
God, now I'm going to. It's blah blah. Shoot.
What's his name? The Crystal guy.
Yeah, the Crystal guy and Vance Astro. He was
Vance
Astro, kind of like a Buck Rogers type of thing.
Yeah.
Frozen, and his body was stuck inside this containment suit, and they fought the Badoon. This is a recreation. It's not the original because the original has never surfaced. And this was done by Sal Buscema, John Buscema's younger brother. John did the original, but he passed a long time ago. So I got this done, and it's not worth a ton of money, but I love it. It's thrilling to me. Here's a Matt Baker 7 Seas cover. Matt Baker.
That's
the only
beautiful.
I've never seen a Matt Baker cover in my entire life, so I had to jump on that.
That's beautiful.
This is really cool. It's Submariner by his creator, Bill Everett. And it's really neat. This little word balloon here. Special note of nostalgia. While Bill Everett, who illustrates our tale this month, was the artist who first illustrated the Submariner more than 2 decades ago when he originally burst into stardom. Enough said. Here's one of the best horror covers.
Oh, I know that cover. That's awesome.
1950s, Weird Mysteries #4 by Bernard Bailey. Here's a really cool Speed 28 cover by Lee Elias, giant Nazi monster, and a bunch of Gil Kane. Just tons of cool stuff. This is a really cool cover by Gil Kane.
That's amazing.
Great way he drew Captain America.
I love Gil Kane's work.
Cool.
Yeah.
My one and only.
It was Matt Tremez. It was Matronex.
Martinex.
Yeah, Martinex.
Martinex. That's right. I couldn't remember. Darn. That's great.
My first
great.
my first Submariner was purchased from you guys.
Oh wow! Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So this is up.
Can't see it with your
you
background.
Can't see it. Oh no! Hold on. I'm gonna get rid of the
Put it in
virtual
front of your
background.
face.
You'll see my green.
There you go.
So
Nice.
this was I was looking for this book for such a long time, and you guys had the only copy. My wife was like, "I'm gonna buy."
It's a
this
great
for you."
cover.
Yeah.
Great cover, yellow, and you got Stubby jumping.
Yeah.
I love this
Comic
cover.
book yellow.
So it's my one. That's my one and only Metropolis first summer.
Oh, it's cool. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So thank you.
Great to hear. Thank you.
So you're showing us a lot of this awesome art. How did you guys get into the original art side of things?
Well, my partner had been collecting for a long time. I started collecting probably in, I remember, I think the first piece of art I bought was, hold on, I'll show you, it's up here, was this John Romita profile of Spidey. This is in a collection I bought out of Brooklyn. And then the other first piece of art that I bought at a convention was this Batman by Marshall Rogers.
Wow.
Can you see it? Well,
Yeah.
there?
Yep.
So what's really crazy about it is the Marshall Rogers, I'm on the phone with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and he says, oh, what's the first piece of art you ever bought? And I tell him about this piece, and he says to me, oh my God, you bought that from me. Like, oh my God, I remember I bought it in 1994 at my first Wizard, well, back then it was just Chicago Comic-Con.
That's hilarious.
And sure enough, I bought it from this guy who I later became friends with, 10 years later, and I just never realized it was him. And you know what he said? He said, I also regretted selling that piece of art. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm also really big into Bruce Lee, and right here, this is Bruce Lee's first and only signed movie contract.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is freaking awesome.
And you know what's incredible? This is your office. This isn't even the gallery. This is your office. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
I like to surround myself with stuff that makes me happy. So
That's what a lot of us do.
We all do.
yeah, I was in Laos for a day, and I bought this stupid thing. You can see the language. It's a Captain America gun and shoots bullets. I think I bought this for $5. I couldn't resist. I carried it all the way back from Asia.
That's great.
That's
great.
There's Spy versus Spy. Mark Texier on Ghost Rider, on Space Punisher. There's a Frazetta.
It's absolutely stunning.
This is a photo I took at the Led Zeppelin reunion concert in 2007.
I actually just listened to your Comic Zone interview where you talked about that in the intro. I think it was with Todd McFarlane, and that was the first 5 minutes of it. You talked about how you just got back from there.
Oh, is that right? That's so cool. I got to check that out. I got to admit, it's really hard for me to listen to myself on those interviews. I hear all the mistakes, and it's a little frustrating. But
same with us.
I'm glad people enjoy them.
Yeah. So how did you get into doing that, actually?
Doing the radio show?
Yeah.
So there was an online radio company called World Talk Radio, and he just called me one day, and he said, hey, would you like to host a show about comic books? And I was like, I would love to host a show about comic books. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And they gave me some pointers, and I started calling up people. Would you be a guest on my show? And I got some pretty interesting guests. I had Bryan Singer opening night of Superman Returns. That was pretty cool. Frank Miller was really exciting. Dave Mandel, Seinfeld writer. I had the Soup Nazi on once. I had a guy named Larry Kane on, who was an anchorman in Philadelphia. And I met him at a book review. He was just talking about his book he had written called Ticket to Ride. He was the first American journalist to travel with the Beatles on their first tour of the States.
Wow.
And I found him captivating. I said, I'd love to interview you. And, it won't really be about comic books, but I'd love to talk to you about the Beatles and stuff. And so I went on him, and we had this great interview. And I remember before I interviewed him, I asked him for a piece of advice. Now, how can I become a better interviewer? And he said to me, he said, listen. I said, really? He said, you're the host of the show. Everybody knows how smart you are. They don't need you to tell them all the time. Just ask the questions and let your guest go. And I got to say, like, before that, I was a little insecure in terms of interviewing. So I would always try to chime in with as much as I could. And after he said that to me, I would start to listen a lot more. And I think it's a very valuable tool to learn as well in regular communication with people, is to listen. Right. You guys are doing a great job. I'm just not letting you get in word and edgewise. So, but
no, it's a good point.
You know, he was fantastic. He was fantastic. Yeah.
So we know there's a lot of, you know, famous people who are into collecting comic books. I mean, famously, you know, Nicolas Cage had one of those very high end, you know, Action Ones at one point before it was stolen and whatever happened to it. Do you guys have a lot of, you know, celebrities that you deal with that you're allowed to talk about at least?
Well, first let me say that the whole thing with Nick Cage, he was one of our biggest clients for a long time. And when his comic book got stolen, it got stolen because he had a Christmas party in which he had all the comic books in these beautiful shadow boxes, locked, and the backs of the display case was hooked up. They were hooked up to his home security system. He had a Christmas party. He wanted to show his comic books off to his friends. So we turned off the security system, unlocked the shadow boxes, and showed them. And we think that somebody who worked catering stole his Action One along with a couple other books. My partner flew out to Los Angeles and offered, you know, to help with the investigation. And what was interesting was, after it was all said and done, Steve said to Nick, sooner or later somebody will try to sell this, and when they do, we'll get it back for you. Fast forward 13 years later, we get a call from this guy with an Action One. He wouldn't give a number, and we hoped he would call back after we got off the phone with him. And sure enough, he did call back. And when he did, he gave us a name and number and sent us a picture, emailed us a picture of the book. The second my partner saw the comic book, he recognized it as Nick's copy because it had a few spots of white where the blue should be at the top of the masthead. And it was like almost like a fingerprint. It was very unique for his copy.
It was a raw copy?
To have that. Yes, it was a raw copy. And so my partner set up an appointment to see this guy the very next day in California, called up Nick, told him what was going on, called up the detective who was on the case 13 years earlier, who was still at the police department, and went out there, met with the detective, and they set up a plan to go when they went out to meet the guy. And sure enough, the detective says to Steve, he says, listen, if anything goes crazy there, don't be a hero. Just hit the ground. I'll take care of everything. To which my partner said, no problem. Okay. So they go there, and as soon as Steve recognized the book, he was supposed to say, hey, this is a really nice book. And then the detective would introduce himself as a detective and explain the situation. Sure enough, that all happens. And they take the book, and we ended up selling it several months later for Nick. And that's the copy that hit a world record. It was a 9.0. Hit a world record of $2.2 million, $2,161,000 to be exact. So that was pretty thrilling. Other celebrities I've sold comic books to, Leonardo DiCaprio is one.
Wow.
Mark Hamill, Miguel Ferrer, Thomas Jane, who starred as the Punisher. He's an incredibly knowledgeable guy.
Somebody told us.
Paul Gambaccini, who's a legendary radio DJ in England. He knows everybody and knows everything about music. He's also a collector. Jonathan Ross, who is the British version of, I guess, Jimmy Kimmel type of, I would often compare him to Johnny Carson, and people said, nah, Johnny Carson was the greatest. I said, Jonathan Ross is England's version. He's the greatest over there.
We heard a story that Leo DiCaprio's dad was like a comic vendor or something like that.
He was a publisher. He published underground comic books. Leo would, after school, go over to Golden Apple Comics in LA, and he would sit in the back and read comic books all day. He loved comic books.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I often find it really amusing. One of the first times I met him, came into our showroom, and I asked him who his favorite character was, and he said Namor. And I said, why? He said, well, because he's Italian. And I was like, wait, really? How is Namor? I think he thought he was Italian for some reason. I don't know, maybe Atlantis was near Italy. But if you do know the history, Namor's name spelled backwards is Roman.
Oh,
so who knows? Maybe Leo knows something I don't know.
You know who does know that? Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
He had a comic character, Roman, who was basically very close copy to Namor. He just flipped the name.
Did he, you know what? I don't remember. Was that an image?
Yeah, it was an image character. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I got to check that out. Yeah, so Rob's a really nice guy. A lot of guys pick on Rob, but I think he's great. I love his art. I think his art was very dynamic. I'm a fan. I also one of my other guys I love from that time period is Stephen Platt. I don't know if you could see that cover to Moon Knight 50 here. Oh, I don't know if it's coming. Just for a second. I think still. So. Gotta head back up. So yeah, so hold on a second. Let me switch that around. There we go. Yeah, and so other celebrities, I'm sure there's a bunch I'm not remembering right now. Oh, you know what was thrilling? I was a big hip hop rap fan in the 90s. And one time when Leo was at our place looking at comic books, he said, hey, a buddy of mine's going to be coming up. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. And sure enough, the bell rings about 10 minutes later, and I hear, this is Tip. I'm Leo's friend. And I was like, okay. And I buzz him up, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, Leo DiCaprio, it's cool, whatever, but if Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest walks through my door, I am going to lose my fucking mind. And sure enough, his name is Kamal, Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, walks through my door, and I am like really starstruck at that point because I love his music.
That's awesome.
And he bought a Silver Surfer #4 because he liked Thor, which was really cool. And
it's a beautiful book.
yeah, it was just a really fun moment. Bear with me one second, guys. I'm going to switch over to my wire head. I'm losing you guys. Yeah, all right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great. I can hear you. I'm sure there are a bunch of other celebrities. I know Eminem's a comic book fan. I sold a comic book to concert producers in Australia who were doing a show with him, so that got there. I gave Howard Stern comic books once, and he ended up giving them to some of his producers. I found that out later on when I was on their show. And they're like, hey, what do you think these comics are worth? I'm like, motherfucker, those are the books I gave to Howard Stern. He gave them away. I later learned he's also a germaphobe, so who knows, maybe he didn't want to touch the comic books. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
So with all the trends that are kind of happening now, what are like the books that you see that are like super high that you expect to kind of fizzle? And what do you think's a good thing to get into collecting right now?
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think that many comic books are going to go down in value. The only place I would say to be careful are modern variant covers and things like that. You have to get your timing right for movie and TV related comic books for the hype. You got to be careful. Those things usually have a short shelf life, but some of them continue to go up. Things I think that are going to do really well in the future. I think there's a lot of room for romance and humor books and war books. So a lot of them have gone up in value, but I think there's a lot more room on those. Pre-code horrors through the roof again, but I still think it's still got room to go. I think timelies have been overlooked a little bit in the last few years, and I love timelies. I buy up timelies as much as I can. I wish I had an inventory of nothing but timelies would be great. So I believe in those a lot. What else do I like? You know, it's so hard to pick like out of a hat. I mean, Spider-Mans are always good. A lot of people are shitting on AF-15s now. I think that's completely wrong. You will see AF-15s continue to go up. I guarantee it.
If somebody wants to throw them out, let us know.
Yeah, no, you know, people are, the prices have gone down. Yeah, on some stuff a little bit, but there's plenty of AF-15s that are selling at the same prices, and everything goes through, you know, ups and downs and peaks and valleys. You know, it happens from time to time, but I think consistently, you know, Spider-Man's one of the most popular characters. I'd put him right up there with Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. Things have trends, and Hulk #1 went through the roof a bunch of years ago, and then it slowed down. I think that'll be back up in a couple of years. It'll be, you know, people go crazy, and all they have to do is announce, you know, a new Hulk movie with a different, you know,
actor.
some type of different. Yeah. My feeling is that the way Marvel should introduce Wolverine to the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a Hulk versus Wolverine movie.
Absolutely.
And I was on the West Coast. I was on the West Coast in January. I was talking to an agent who is the agent for about 6 of the Marvel directors. And he said, what do you think would be great? And I told him, I pitched him on this. And he just sat there with him. He called up one of the other agents and got him in the room. And the listener was like, you know, that's a pretty good idea. Now, I don't know if that'll ever happen. But if it does, I'd like to think a little bit something.
All right, we're gonna start the rumor that you gave the idea.
Yeah.
I did talk about it. I'm sure somebody else talked about it before I did, but I'd like to think maybe I had a little something to do. No, that would be this, you know, all joking aside, it would be thrilling to see a Wolverine versus Hulk movie. Oh my God, I'd lose my mind. You know, just do Hulk 180, 181, and 182.
There you go.
Modernize it a little bit. Make Wendigo look a little cooler. There's a love story in there. Wendigo and his girlfriend. You know, before he turned into Wendigo. You know, you got all this cool stuff going on. You got Hulk. You got Wolverine. Oh man, that would be just amazing.
It'd be pretty awesome. So we've also
put him in his old yellow costume.
Yes, yeah, 100%. It's got to be the yellow costume. So we've also noticed a surge in graded video games, and you guys have kind of been at the forefront of that.
Well, we're trying. It's an incredibly dynamic market. There are so many variables for each game. It makes it hard for me to keep up with, but we've got a great guy, Jeff Mazza, who is running our video game department, and it's really exciting. And we're leaving no stone unturned. We are looking for video games everywhere. If anybody has video games, you want to sell them, comic books, artwork, video games, memorabilia, statues, you name it, we're buying everything. Just let us know. Contact us through metropoliscomics.com or comicconnect.com. We take consignments. We sell through auction. We sell through privately. We sell through our websites. We do a little bit of everything. And what's been really fun for me over the last 2 months because of the pandemic, I've been really spending a lot more time on the phone while my team is working from home. I've been on the phone a lot making sales, and there's nothing I like more than buying and selling comics, original art, video games, you name it. And I've been doing a lot of that, and it's been really exciting. I've had some really, really fantastic sales come through for some great collectors building amazing collections. And it's just been a lot of fun. And then there, you know, obviously there have been people who need to sell because of what's going on around the world. And I've also been able to help those people out by selling stuff for them. So it's been a win-win-win situation. I've been very excited about the market. I love a challenge. So when this whole mess started, I just...
Welcome back.
He's connecting the audio.
Hey guys.
Welcome back.
I joined you through my
the computer.
Not too bad for this old dinosaur.
Luckily, we were kind of finishing up anyway, so.
Fair enough.
You already answered our question about what were the best ways to contact the Metropolis Collectibles anyway. So.
Smoke signal.
Smoke signal.
That's awesome.
So, Vincent, I'm sorry. One thing I wanted to ask you before you go is, so when I was listening to some of those Comic Zone interviews, people like Matt Nelson, they were talking about like CGC at that time and like restored books would come up a lot. So I'm curious, how were restored books viewed back then as opposed to now? Because I feel like there's kind of a stigma attached to them now.
Well, it's funny you say that. I think they're a lot more acceptable now than they were. So you have to go back in time. For me, I would say that when I first got into this, the price difference between a restored and unrestored comic book was not that great. You could have a showcase number 4 that was, let's say, $2,000 unrestored, might be $1,500 restored. Whereas today it might be $2,000 unrestored and $700 restored.
Yeah.
So what I think there was a negative trend against restored comic books through the 90s, although we sold them. And I think into the early 2000s, and then I'd say the last 10 years, as comic book prices have gone up a lot, restored comic books have become a lot more acceptable for people in their collections. Also because CGC is authenticating them and telling you what's going on with the comic book, that's very helpful and allows people to understand if they're buying something that's professionally restored, amateur, if it's light, moderate, or extensive. So the level of professional restoration on it, the quality of it. So you have a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that come into play for this, which I think adds confidence to people when they're buying. Now, that's not to say, a lot of people still won't buy restored comic books. I mean, I normally like to buy unrestored comic books, but I bought some restored comic books for my collection. So I think it's fine, and it's interesting. It's exciting to be able to take a beat up comic book and get it restored. There's some people who do amazing restoration work. Kenny Sanderson is a fantastic restoration expert. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Matt Nelson is incredibly gifted. I think Matt and Emily Myers are just brilliant. Of course, you have Susan Ciccone. I'm sure there's some people I'm leaving out, but those are the people that I think highly of in the business. They're all talented in different ways in terms of handling different techniques that they use, mm-hmm. Different ways of making a book look the best it can look. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Very cool. All right, you guys have any other questions or?
I think that's it. We'll have to do a part 2 one day. This
Definitely.
is he's got so much information.
I can go on forever.
we got to see the rest of that gallery.
We could listen forever.
It's a lot of fun. Guys, anything else you need, you let me know. It's been a real pleasure. If you guys can send me a link to this, I'd love to help promote it, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right, stay safe.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent, for joining us. That was an awesome interview.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that
gave us so
was
much,
pretty cool.
Yeah, the little tour we had and just talking about comic book history. I mean, that's stuff that's so interesting to me. I know you guys kind of feel the same way too. Like him, just like when we had Alan on our show, who we'll talk about in a little bit. It's just so cool to hear like these old stories, because a lot of us, I mean, JJ, I know you've been in comics for a little bit longer than us, but we weren't in that world back in like the early, 80s and 90s. And it's really, in the 70s to hear stories about it. It's really cool to me, at least.
And actually having him walk around. So, we didn't even announce this beforehand, but so this is our first episode that we're actually going to be broadcasting live. We're showing this. We're recording the audio and video, which is going to be posted on YouTube. So not only can you listen to our podcast, but you're able to watch it now, and you'll be able to see those behind the scenes, what Vinny was showing us, throughout his office, which was incredible.
You'll actually be seeing us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be an ongoing thing. Yeah, who cares about that? But we're going to be doing this ongoing now, I think. Just recording these for, the video side of it to see behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoy that.
So if you're listening, if you're listening audio only, be sure to go on YouTube, check it out. There's a little 10 minutes in the beginning where he's showing us some awesome stuff. Books in the back, original art on the wall in his office. It's really cool.
It's amazing.
100%. But we have something cool that we're going to talk about right now, don't we?
Oh, we do.
We do?
Yeah. Well, it's not
What
cool,
is
but
that?
it's kind of a recap of what we just did. So for those of you who don't know, Long Island Comic Guys kind of helped host the stream for the Remedy Tour 9. Is that what it was? 9?
Ninth stop, yeah.
For our buddy Kyle's Comics, at Kyle's Comics 01. If you're not following him, you should. He's got a bunch of awesome comics. Not as many as he did before, but he still has a lot of pretty awesome comics. But we kind of helped him out, and we helped stream the Remedy Tour from our account at LI Comic Guys. And man, was that an experience!
That was not at all what I expected it would be.
Yeah, it was funny because we were on the different side. Normally we're on the watching and buying side. This time we're on the, oh man, we're part of this side,
and also a little buying.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, and and I'm so glad that I came, because I wasn't going to come at first, because just with everybody's home and with this whole virus thing going on, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go, and thank God I went. I'm so happy that I went, because that was a lot of fun. It was a long night, but it was a blast.
I feel like it went quick considering we were there for 8 hours doing it, because it was nonstop,
Yeah.
We were just always doing something.
I mean, from the moment we went live at, 6 p.m. our time?
Yep.
I mean, we were nonstop till 2 a.m. And even at the end was like the biggest crunch. Like those last hour to 2 hours was like another buying frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
No, that last half hour was insane. The last 20 minutes was insane. Like, just
it was like a Sunday afternoon on New York Comic Con with all the offers.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Nuts.
I was telling someone, I think I was telling my wife afterwards, I was like, I don't think there was more than a 5-minute period where somebody wasn't buying a book. I mean, do you guys agree? Do you think 100%. It was more than that?
Oh.
It's just, I think that was the longest span. I told her, there was maybe 5 minutes, and I'm talking 5 solid minutes, and that seemed like an eternity where, no one was buying a book. But other than that, it was nonstop, running from, the room where all the books were to the room where we were organizing everything. Alan was there as a runner. My favorite part of all that was just Alan's reaction to all this. Because Alan's a very old school guy. He's the one who I think taught at least most of us how to grade and what to look out for. And, we've all gotten our gold stars from what we've learned from him recently. But, he's not on social media. He doesn't follow this stuff. He's an old school comic convention only, buying through people he knows. And his jaw literally had to be picked up off the floor.
So leading up to this, he texted me and he was like, so I hear Kyle's doing a QVC on a Saturday. And I was like, yeah, you joining? He's like, I don't know. Who the hell's going to buy something on Instagram? And I'm like, come, trust me. And even when he was before when he got there, he was like, I don't know about this. I'll stay till 8 o'clock maybe.
Yeah.
And within the first hour, when all those Amazing Spider-Man sold, he was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because we both have helped Kyle at shows over the last year. And those are books that have been, sitting at the shows for the last year, good 10 to 12 shows. And for them all to move instantly on this sale is crazy.
It was crazy.
Well, it's interesting because Kyle's been doing. I would imagine he's been doing the same shows over and over again every year. So he's got his circuit that he does,
and he knows what's what and what to expect.
People, and you get the same people at these shows, the same people, and we're those same people. So bringing this to an Instagram world where you're now showing people on the West Coast. These people are eating this stuff up, and it's amazing that how quickly all this went.
It's nuts.
And I was shocked. I've never thought in a million years. When you're a spectator bidding on these things, watching it and watching everybody buy this stuff, and then going behind the scenes and going, what just happened? It was amazing.
Even watching all of them, I kind of knew I thought I knew what to expect, being on the other side of it, but it totally, it was exhausting. And I'm very proud of myself because I only, all said and done, messed up one Instagram handle out of the 100 and something that.
Really?
Yes, there's only one that he could not find.
Oh,
and it was only a $20 book, so it's not a big deal.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
And that's someone that didn't message him either?
Yeah.
All right. But even what you were saying, JJ, I mean, I agree 100%. Not only was it the West Coast, but it's the entire country. I mean, I think there was even
Everybody.
some, buyers from overseas, right? Because he was accepting international offers as well. I mean, some of these people just can't see these books. Some people might be in places where there aren't conventions like that. So, to finally come across this book outside of eBay and these other places where, not only does the seller get hit with all these fees, but the buyers do too. Now buyers, in places have to pay, these premiums or these, sales tax that's associated with it, and then you have to pay shipping. I mean, there's shipping here as well, but like when you add that all together, you're paying like another $50 or more, additional to what you're paying for the actual book sometimes. So
especially if it's a big book, like if you're buying a $2,000-$3,000 book, to pay sales tax on that
100%.
plus a buyer's premium plus shipping,
yeah,
it's freaking ridiculous. It's like 10% more.
It's
100%.
Yeah. It was amazing. And what struck me kind of strange is, we're used to going to shows, hey, can I see that book, grabbing it, looking at it, if it's not encapsulated, taking it out of the bag, doing a page count, if that's what some people do, just kind of getting overlooking it. But here you got people just buying these books on a whim, and you really got to put a lot of faith into the seller. Like, I know
as a seller, you got to make sure that you're on the money with like your grades and stuff,
And that's another reason why, Alan was there, because Alan's, been doing this before, there was even a great grading companies. He's going by like the old school, the pricing guides and,
and he's strict, which I like.
Rules set aside. Just like, listen, it's like you'd rather someone be happier with a slightly higher grade than be off by like 2 points. And, that's 100%. I mean, as a seller too, you have to back your word. Like if somebody gets a book and it's like a 2.0 when you said it was a 6.0 and they're like, hey, I want my money back, you just have to honor that. It's like, you're not trying to get one over on them. You just miss something. Sometimes you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but that's a gamble you're taking at a show too. Like there might be, if you don't count the pages, I mean, you could buy a book that looks beautiful, but it's missing page 16, which is like an ad page that you didn't even know about.
Or you open it up and there's like all this dirt inside. That's happened to me before with older books.
It's just, there's always a gamble. I think as long as I feel like almost on the Instagram side, you have a little bit more customer service, because sometimes you might not even remember exactly who you bought it from at a convention. It's like, oh, like I bought like 10 books. Like, I don't remember which book I got from which guy. And sometimes, that can be like that. I mean, not so much for us, but it can happen.
Yeah. And also on Instagram, I don't see this too much, but I imagine it's if someone tries to get one over on somebody, like that person's done,
100%.
Word spreads so quickly, especially through this little community that everybody's formed.
And again, we spoke about this earlier in the episode with Steve from Minor Keys. The Instagram community has really come together. I mean, Ali has been like almost like a watchdog for like these like, defunct, accounts who are just trying to like scammers. He actually
he has no problem blowing up.
Oh no, and it's funny.
Which I love.
He reached out to me the other day directly. He's like, "Hey, do you know this guy?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, you never bought anything from him before." Right? I was like, "No." He's like, "Good." He's like, "He's a scammer." He goes, "I'm not going to blow him up, but I'm just going to block his account this time." It's like everyone's egging me on to blow him up, but I'm trying to be a little bit better. I was like, "Hey, if you would ask my opinion, I'd say to blow him up." But, it's like those people definitely hurt the community, but in my opinion, there's a lot more good people out there than there are like the bad people. And, you have to cultivate these relationships too. You have to be careful. You can't just, not only are they trusting Kyle because, Elite's saying that, but, we're jumping on there too. People are starting to know who we are. It's like, hey, this is our friend. You can trust what he's saying is true because we trust what he's saying is true. So, it's like kind of putting yourself on the line for other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about like more about how it happened. Like, so the thing that I noticed about this was, especially the way we were doing it, and I think we got actually complimented a lot about our organization and our speed, which I think we
got
take
told
pride
to slow
in.
down a couple times.
Yeah, but I think I feel like there hasn't been a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was definitely a lot more people, and especially you and I included, Toy Story, who've been complaining about they just don't move along.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely were going very fast, and especially I feel like when we would start the hour every time, that's when we would really go fast again because like, all right, let's go, and we would jump right into it. But I think we had a good organization. We moved along well, even though the coding system kind of broke down.
It always does, I feel like.
Yeah. We had this is the book, this is the grade, this is the price. and it just kept things moving.
That's what Ali's there for too. Like
Yeah.
on the fly, where he's like, all right, if you want that, just write 25.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for.
And that's good too, because I remember when we were talking to Steve at Minor Keys, JJ, you were saying how, you were trying to watch the video and like record it at the same time. I was doing that in the beginning too, but at one point I just switched to like, I'm just watching the book. I'm focusing on showing the book the best I can, and I'm going to be the one who's going to police and work on those, because I knew Matt was in the other room also watching the feed. He was monitoring, who won. And as soon as Ali announced it, he would, he'd have a tag ready. We mark that book and put it in their pile or start a new pile for that person.
And a little thing for everybody because there's plenty of people who complain about this, like live on the sales, about them not seeing their claims or whatever.
Yeah.
I was seeing claims that Ali wasn't seeing, and Ali was seing claims that I wasn't seeing, and I had my laptop set up right there.
100%.
So that's totally a thing where the comments are filtered out randomly.
And he told us
yeah.
Go ahead.
And that was the problem I had when I first took the camera over, and I was seeing people going claim Spider-Man,
but he wasn't
13.
saying anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but wait, and it in the beginning it was tough, but then it got easier because you do got to tune it out and let him deal with it. And I was I was getting better towards the end of that, but it's very psychological that you're like, no, get that guy to it's his, because I've been on that receiving end where I was throwing claims out there and you get so frustrated and annoyed and pissed off and be like, F you, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah. Hopefully Instagram gets their act together a little bit with that.
Yeah, I think he talked to us about some improvements and confirmations that he's made with them. They definitely filter out if people keep sending the same message over and over. There's things I think if you send like offensive stuff, that stuff gets filtered out too. So I mean, I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason to exactly how it works, but it's just something that you have to be conscious of, I guess. So I mean, so let's talk about so the things that people see the claims, they see how that happens. Let's talk a little bit about like kind of the running side. So for those of you who don't know, we had 5 people. So us 3, JJ, Matt, and myself, and then we had Kyle, who was kind of in front of the camera the whole time. And then we had our friend Alan, who's like the head grader, and he was helping organize too. So we would take books as soon as they were marked, and we heard the bell and we heard who won. You had some like organizational thing going on in the room. You want to tell people like what you were doing? Like,
oh my God. So I was in his dining room and I had the whole table set out and my Post-its ready and my computer right there. So every time I heard the bell, I'd try and see if I could see the claim on my screen. If I couldn't, I had to listen to him and listen to him spell out the name. And he's fast. Yeah. So I had to write quick on a Post-it who got it, how much, and then stick it and then organize it. It was fine at first, but halfway through, people get a lot of stuff. The piles start stacking up and you have to add to their piles. And so I was overlapping books on each other and then sliding, you have to slide them in if someone got them. So towards like, I think 1:30, it was to a point where I was just like, I'm not filing this. Just stack it here. It's fine. But, for the most part, it was good though.
It was definitely getting tough. Cause like I would come in and it's like, all right, like you go in the room and I'll help this. I'm like, I'm looking at it. I was like, wait, what goes where? Like that point is just
and
like,
you can't keep anything alphabetical either.
No,
it's just not possible.
There's not enough time.
Yeah. My original idea was to do it in like short boxes, but then you have to reorganize the short boxes when they fill up.
Exactly.
I didn't want to touch that. When I came in and saw the table, I'm like, Matt,
you went right past there into the living room.
I'm not doing this because that would have been all jacked up.
JJ was like, yeah, I'll take the camera at any point. If you need me to do the camera, I'll do the camera. I mean, it was crazy. I was exhausted. I mean, like, luckily, the great thing about having 5 people where we were each able to take like 5-minute breaks here and there, like I must have drank like 10 to 12 bottles of water.
Yeah. It was a hot day Saturday too.
Yeah. I mean, I was going like back and forth. Like my body was physically in pain.
Yeah.
It was like a combination of like stress and adrenaline and excitement. It's like being on the receiving end of that, like, claim sale is just, it's an undescribable feeling unless you've done it. Like the energy is just amazing. I mean, I've said it, I said it earlier in the episode, but it's crazy. Like, to think, and he did really well. We're really happy for him. We really do appreciate the people in the community showing up. Not just Ali's friends, but our friends too. We definitely recognized a couple friendly names. So I can't say faces because we don't know all their faces, but we definitely know their handles and stuff like that. But it was awesome.
Yeah, and if you guys like what he had, I think he might be planning on a part 2. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. I think he said he was going to do more. He's going to do more from his account too. So make sure you're following at Kyle's Comics 01, right?
Yes, 01.
Yeah. 01. Yeah. Sorry.
People should keep in mind too, like, even if something's not being bought, I mean, make an offer. If you want something, like, make an offer.
Worst you could say is no.
I was shocked that there weren't enough offers. Like, books were being passed up and nobody would made an offer.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't want them, but it was very strange. Even books that people were focused on, and they passed up, make an offer. Like, if he was asking $50 for it, maybe ask $40 for it. Make an offer.
I think there was definitely a decent amount of people. I mean, I know I do this. I see a book, I do a little research because it's hard to have information on everything. It's like
it's hard on those sales too, though, because if you want a book, you can't research sometimes because the book goes like that.
Can't.
Well, then kind of. Listen, in my opinion, these books go so hot, and there's a desperation to buy them. I mean, even we were talking about this with Minor Keys. I was like, if you know what you want, I mean, you kind of see previews and stuff like that. I try to do my research ahead of time. I see what fair prices are.
That's why it helps when they post promo pictures.
Some of the issues is people get so caught up in the hype, and it's happened to me 100%. Is that you just I have to buy it right now, and it's just you don't even look to see what it's worth. It's I think this is something that you still have to be smart with doing.
Yeah.
You want the book, you don't want it to get away. I mean, some things are so rare that you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, or cheap enough where you don't really care if you spend $10.
Exactly.
Extra.
That's the thing too.
If I see a nice book that I like and it's $35, I'm not going to go look it up. I'm just going to buy it.
100%.
But if it's a $500 book, completely different.
Yeah, you have to be, spend wisely, know what you're buying wisely. I mean, that's all stuff that I think we'll do a whole episode on stuff like that. I think we actually have planned to do stuff like that, kind of a comic book buying and selling 101. Not to say we're the experts, but I think we have a lot of information that it might be useful.
Altogether, we are one expert.
If we bring Alan on, we're definitely the expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a guest again soon, but to you guys.
And keep in mind through this whole thing, that wasn't even a scrape of his stuff.
He
that
has
was
a lot of
just
stuff.
A very, very tiny bit of his collection.
There's definitely more stuff to come.
So if you guys are in the New York area, I don't know if he'll ever do a show again after this, but if he does, he's at all the local shows. He has an awesome setup every time. So keep an eye out. Follow him on Instagram. He posts all the time about what he's doing.
I think out of the stuff he put up, though, what would you say the percentage that went?
Out of the stuff that he went up on the wall, I'd say half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I think he sold about,
which I think is pretty good.
Because you have to remember, we were replacing too.
Yes, exactly.
So even though if it didn't seem empty at the time, we put more stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised, and there's some surprises that I thought would sell and they didn't. I know he had a Hulk 181. That I was shocked that didn't get a little more BuzzFeed on it.
Like you said, though, not even an offer.
Yeah.
Not even an offer. And what was the one next to it? The one was the first Punisher, or the Punisher. Spidey.
He had two of them. The lower grade one sold. The higher grade one didn't.
Not even a blip. There was quite a few books that I was a little shocked that didn't get any interest at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue, and I know from my end personally, I think the issue was because that 181 is faded. It has sun fading. Mm-hmm. That people I think the problem is it's a 6.0 price, but I don't know. With the fading, I think turns people away. So he probably has it priced accordingly. Taking into the factor of the sun fading, but
which it would totally turn me off from it too.
Yeah. So
I'm
not gonna lie, I wouldn't buy it.
I got it. Yeah, no, I get it.
But the 129, I am surprised was still there.
Mm-hmm. What was that, an 8.5?
Yeah, it was a nice book. Good stuff.
And of course, we did buy some stuff from there.
Yeah,
Yes, we did. We wound up with some stuff as well. So at this point of the episode, you would have also seen our claim sale with Best Comics. So we're recording this a little bit before that, so we don't have the information on it yet. But we will definitely be talking about that in the next episode, and we hope we thank everyone who contributed to that one as well, even though it didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure there'll be some of you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a lot more stuff coming up, and we're excited about. Like we said, we have Alan who's going to be joining us in the near future. We have some topics that we want to talk about that we're really excited to share with you guys. So make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook and all of the social media platforms that we post to.
And apparently we
LI
have
Comic Guys.
And apparently we have no restraint with our wallets, and we're constantly buying stuff. So
yeah, we're gonna
keep an eye out on our Instagram because we're always posting stuff that we
we're gonna be putting some more stuff up for sale. I've got some time this week, so yeah. But and I hope you guys enjoyed this first YouTube episode as well. You can see our faces. I don't know if you want to. Some of you might be going back to listening only. I wouldn't blame you. I mean,
I'm gonna plan on having different comics over here every episode.
There you go. So that's an incentive. See what Toy Story has on the on the shelf. It's an elf. It's a Toy Story on the shelf. A Woody on the shelf.
Awful.
All right, guys. Real quick, TC, do you want to talk about real quick just your new show thing you're doing?
Sure, yeah. So this is also, I think we've done 2 of these so far. It's not just mine. It's open to all the members of our thing. I think
you started it.
So Matt will be joining me tomorrow, right? He's going to be helping me do some comic book stuff. So he's going to be joining me from my room. And we just interviewed Bill at Bucky's Comics. And I'm sure, not an interview, but we sat down and chatted with him. And so we're calling it Geeking Out, just kind of like, just being a little bit social, kind of like kicking back. I know a lot of people are looking for like something to do during quarantine. If you want to, if you need more interaction with us, because, you don't get enough, then, we're here for you. But yeah, we're excited about that. We have a bunch of people in mind, a lot of people in the IG community who are big into comics and collecting and other stuff too. And we'll see where it goes. I'm just enjoying it. I'll be honest, if one person watched or no people watched, I still enjoy doing them. We're going to record them as well, and save them and edit them a little bit and put them on IGTV, so you should be able to watch all of them. The first one I did with Mike from Cape Justice Jewelry, that went 2 hours. Was definitely not expecting that. We've got almost close to 300 viewers on the first part of that, and like over 100 on the second part. So, I want to thank everyone who tuned in. And, if you guys have suggestions, please, reach out to us and let us know. Or if you want to talk to us, let us know. Like, we have a kind of a schedule that we're keeping to right now of people so far. But, down the line, you never know. But
well said.
Cool. Thank you. I get into zones. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Old School Toy Story.
No.
But there's a debate part at the end where Will Ferrell debates I forget the guy's name, but he's a famous political debater, and he's like, "You won." He goes, "What happened? I blacked out." And it's like that's basically what I do when I go on those rants. I black out. I'm not even really in my body. But yeah, like we said, a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We're kind of like pumping out the content here, guys, and we're trying to get involved in the community in every way we can. So, reach out to us on Instagram or, at what was our email requests at licomic.com. That's our
That's it.
That's our email address.
Yep.
And I guess from there we'll say, and remember until next time, remember. I've been fumbling that. Until next time, remember.
Don't be the geeks!